Please be aware, in this podcast series we talk about all areas of safeguarding, which some people may find upsetting. So please make sure you're okay listening to today's topic. Be mindful of those around you, such as children, that you might not want to listen in. Hi, I'm SSS Safeguarding Director Sam Preston.
And I'm former head teacher and content author Sarah Spinks.
Welcome to Safeguarding Conversations from SSS Learning. In this series, we explore the practical issues that influence safeguarding in education settings and consider how professionals can respond in thoughtful, informed ways. In today's episode, we're focusing on transitions and why periods of change can increase vulnerability for children and young people with special educational needs and/or disabilities, SEND. Transitions are a normal part of education, whether that's moving from one class to another, changing key stages, starting a new school, or preparing for adulthood. But for some children, these changes can present additional challenges that may impact their well-being, engagement, and safeguarding visibility.
Yeah, that's right. Transitions can involve changes in routine, expectations, relationships, and environments. So for many children with SEND, predictability and familiarity play an important role in helping them feel confident and safe. When those familiar structures change, it can sometimes increase anxiety or uncertainty. And this does not mean transitions should be avoided, but it does highlight the importance of planning and support.
We often think about transitions mainly in academic terms, don't we? But they can also have safeguarding implications.
Yeah, because transitions can affect how visible a child's needs are to the professionals supporting them. For example, when a child moves to a new class, or school, staff may still be developing their understanding of the child's strengths, needs, and communication preferences. And it can take time to build relationships and establish trust.
And during that period, some children may find it more difficult to express how they are feeling. Changes in environment can increase emotional pressure. A child may be adjusting to new routines, unfamiliar expectations, or different social groups.
Yeah, exactly. Some children may feel uncertain about asking for support in a new setting, particularly if they're unsure who to approach or how their needs will be understood.
Transitions, they can also involve increased sensory or emotional demands, changes such as, new classrooms, different noise levels, unfamiliar social dynamics, or altered routines may feel overwhelming for some pupils.
Yeah, and children who rely on structure and predictability, particularly I'm thinking now of children maybe on the ASD spectrum, they may find these changes particularly challenging, which can affect confidence and engagement.
From a safeguarding perspective, it's important that information about needs and support strategies is shared appropriately between professionals. Effective information sharing helps ensure continuity of support. And where staff understand a child's needs, they're better placed to create environments where pupils feel safe and feel able to participate fully. And transitions also involve emotional adjustment, not just practical change.
And children may feel uncertain, about leaving familiar adults or peer groups, and they may worry about new expectations or whether they will manage successfully in a different environment. So, really important, and certainly something I did as a head, was providing opportunities for children to become familiar with those new settings early and then gradually build. And that really can help reduce anxiety.
So this highlights then, Sarah, doesn't it, the importance of collaboration between professionals?
Absolutely. Transition planning often involves coordination between teachers, Senkos, pastoral staff, and where appropriate, external professionals. Sharing the relevant information early helps ensure that support strategies remain consistent and that children do not feel they need to begin again and explain their needs.
And I think we must remember, though, transitions also occur at multiple points throughout education, not just when moving schools.
Oh, definitely. Daily transitions between activities, can come right down to that sort of micro level, moving between lessons, changing
Yeah.
routines can also present challenges. Understanding how a child experiences change can really help staff anticipate where additional support may be helpful.
And there's also, you just prompted me there when you were talking about moving between lessons and getting it down to that sort of micro level. I'm also thinking about where changes occur in, say, perhaps the school, where maybe parts of the school are not accessible for a period of time. And so a child might be used to, say, for instance, going to a hall to do an activity, and that hall may be used for something else, or there may be work being carried out and it has to take place in another part of the school. For some children, that's very challenging.
Definitely. And I think, like you say, maintaining that clear communication with families in there is another aspect of creating a smoother transition. I think families often have valuable insight that helps their children feel reassured and confident. So that certainly when we, as a head, we had our transition meetings early, variety of transitions. We'd know the children well enough to be able to do the transitions within the school day. Then you would build up the picture of when they were moving into different year groups. And then obviously the really big one, when they're moving schools, whether that's in year or whether it's going to a new school at the end of an academic year. But that collaborative planning is really crucial to help ensure that support strategies reflect those individual needs. And that even down to things like maybe having some time in the new setting and the consistent adult they work with, or those sorts of things that really build together.
So from a safeguarding perspective, supporting positive transitions, it really helps ensure children remain visible and supported during periods of change.
Exactly. When traditions, when they're really carefully planned, children are much more likely to feel secure, confident, and able to engage with new experiences.
And it also reinforces the importance of viewing inclusion as part of safeguarding practice, doesn't it? Inclusive environments help reduce vulnerability and support well-being. And when children feel understood and supported, they're more likely to participate fully and communicate any concerns they may have. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find more safeguarding insights, training and free resources on the SSS Learning website. Thanks for listening.